Don't miss the tea. Subscribe now.
Oh my God, refill your glass, because you are not going to believe the absolute saga I just went through at work. No, seriously, grab the bottle. You know how much I loved that job with the local council, right? Working out in the catchment zone, checking the river levels, being one with nature. It was literally the dream. I was basically a feral river creature who occasionally sent emails. But honey, you know how local government is. Just when you think you're safe, the bureaucracy monster wakes up and chooses violence. So let me set the scene for you. My setup was perfect. When I signed my contract, it was explicit, crystal clear, that I did not have access to a work van. And nowhere in that paperwork did it say I needed to own a personal vehicle. I'm an eco-warrior on a budget, okay? My bike is my baby. The job was remote. I'd wake up, hop on my bike, ride to the river site near my house, do my science-wise stuff, and go home. Then the regime change happened. Some new higher-ups came in and decided they were morally, spiritually, and ideologically offended by the concept of working from home. They sent out this blanket decree. Everyone is better in the office. Remote work is over, return to base. I looked at the email and I just laughed. I thought, surely this doesn't apply to me. My office is a riverbank. So being the responsible employee I am, I arranged a meeting. I explained, hey, I work in the catchment zone. That is 16 miles away from this office. If I come here first, I'm just going to have to turn around and go back. I even pointed out the vehicle situation. Do you know what they said? They turned down my meeting request, declined it, and then replied with a copy-paste policy statement. All staff must start their shift in their base office. No exceptions. I stared at that screen, and I felt something snap. They wanted me in the office. They wanted strict adherence to the rules. Oh, honey, I was about to give them so much malicious compliance they wouldn't know what to do with it. It was summer. The weather was gorgeous. And I thought, okay, you want me to start at the base office. I will start at the base office. Here is where it gets petty. My commute on my bike, my primary mode of transport, which they knew is 16 miles. One way. That's a 32-mile round trip just to get to the desk. But remember, my actual work is back where I started. So here was my new daily routine. Are you ready for this cardio nightmare? I would wake up early, strap on my helmet, and cycle 16 miles to the council office. I'd arrive at the office, sweating, glowing, swipe my badge, gotta get that timestamp, right, sit down for 30 minutes. Then, because my job is at the river, I would get back up, put my helmet back on, and get back on my bike. I would then cycle 16 miles back the way I came, toward my house to get to the work site. Another hour and 15 minutes on the payroll. By the time I actually got to the river, it was nearly lunchtime. I'd work for maybe an hour. Then, lunch. After lunch, I'd work for maybe one more hour. Because, and here is the kicker, I had to end my day at the base office to sign out. So at around 2:30 p.m., I would get back on the bike and cycle another 16 miles back to the council office. Girl, 60-plus miles a day. Every single day. I was being paid to train for the Tour de France. My calves, sculpted by the gods, my productivity, absolute trash. I was getting paid a full salary to check 3 emails and look at a river for 45 minutes. This went on for months. Eventually, the inevitable happened. The hammer dropped. I got called into a meeting. This time, they didn't decline it. I walked into the office, spandex shorts under my work trousers, probably smelling faintly of road dust, and sat down across from the managers. The vibe was icy. They had spreadsheets. They had charts. We've noticed a significant drop in your output, the head manager said, looking over his glasses at me. You're completing a fraction of the work you used to do. We're hearing you're barely on site. We need to discuss your time management. They started throwing accusations around. Laziness, time theft, lack of commitment to the council's vision. They were really laying it on thick, acting like I was just hanging out at home watching Netflix. I let them finish. I sat there with the calm demeanor of a person who has read their contract 3 times that morning. When they finally stopped talking, I pulled out my folder. Well, I said, voice sweet as pie, I'm glad you brought this up. As you know, per the email sent on date, I was instructed to start and end my day at the base office. I pointed out at the time that my contract, right here, highlighted in yellow, states I do not have access to a work vehicle. It also does not require me to possess a personal car for work duties. I slid the paper across the table. They looked at it. I also pointed out, I continued, that the catchment zone is 16 miles from this office. Since I was denied a work van and instructed to report to the office, I have been using my authorized mode of transport, my bicycle, to travel between the mandatory base office and the work sites. I pulled out my travel log. As you can see here, travel time between the office and the site is approximately 75 minutes each way. I do this twice a day to comply with your start at base policy. That is roughly 5 hours of travel time per day, which is paid time, leaving me approximately 2 hours of actual site work. The silence in that room, deafening. It was heavy. It was thick. You could hear the gears turning in their heads as they realized that they had ordered me to do this. They had explicitly shut down my attempt to work remotely, and now they were looking at the consequences. The manager looked at the contract. He looked at my travel log. He looked at me. He looked at his ideological policy that was currently costing the council thousands of pounds for me to get shredded abs and do nothing. I just smiled. I'm simply doing exactly what I was asked to do. I'm following orders from the top of the organization. They couldn't write me up. They couldn't fire me. I hadn't broken a single rule. I had followed the rules so hard I broke the system. There was some awkward coughing, a shuffling of papers. The manager cleared his throat and looked extremely uncomfortable. Right, he said, much quieter this time. Well, given the unique geography of your role. He trailed off. He didn't want to say it. He didn't want to admit the policy was stupid. We think it would be best, he finally mumbled, if you considered your base to be the sites you work at. For efficiency. Are you sure? I asked, widening my eyes innocently. I don't mind the ride, it's great cardio. No, he said quickly. Please, just go to the site from home. If you insist, I said. I walked out of that office feeling like I had just won a gold medal. I got back on my bike, rode the 16 miles home for the last time on their dime, and popped a bottle of wine. So, yeah. I spent the entire summer getting paid to cycle around the countryside, get the best tan of my life, and prove that micromanagement is a disease. And now, I'm back to waking up, rolling out of bed, and walking 10 minutes to the river. Cheers to malicious compliance, babe. It tastes sweeter than victory.